Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Shiza, and today I will be conducting an interview with this personality that I have gotten to know recently. And there's many things, like if you were to give an intro for this personality, there's a lot of things that I would say. He has been a managing director of Apex Group of Colleges, and he has also been a businessman. And today, these questions would be, the questions that I would be asking would revolve around the same thing. So first, I would like to welcome Mr. Tahir Khursheed. Assalamu alaikum. We have a lot of questions for you. Here in this time, I would like to ask you these main achievements of your life that I've read about, and I would be asking you the questions regarding to them. First, as I have learned about you, that you prefer business over a stable job, and you have quite done the same thing in your life. So I wanted to know how it worked out for you. Most people would not like to leave their stable jobs, or as their parents would say them too, won't even think about doing the business unless they have enough money. So
it's been since my childhood, I must say. At a very young age, maybe I was 7-year-old at that time, I always dream of one thing: holding my own company, having my own airline, having a big empire for myself. So I strive for it from a very young age, and even at the age of 7 years, I started my own business. I was selling some food products in my street and
That's very innovative. That's very innovative for a 7-year-old.
Yeah, I started earning out of it. Most of my friends, they were businessmen, so they were not school-going kids. So most of them, either they were working or they were planning to have their own business after getting some experience. So that's maybe the kind of company you have, and that drag you to the similar environment. So what I feel like that whenever we say that job or a business, so it typically give you a tendency towards the environment where you grew up. Like if I say for the Maimans in Pakistan,
yes,
how many of them are doing their jobs? So you may be finding not more than 30% people doing their jobs. Most of them engage themselves into business. But if I say any ordinary Pakistani, they would love to go for a job. Maybe over 90% is trained and mentally prepared to surrender their all capacity to someone who can give them a small piece of money for their rest of their life. So it's the kind of environment where you grew up. So that was the main reason I opted for the business, and still I believe that if you have potential, if you have courage to do that, and if you have a family support. Family support doesn't mean you have a lot of money with you, but the family support means the people around you say, okay, go ahead, we are with you, maybe whatever is the result out of your endeavor.
Right.
So if that is the kind of support you have, there is always a good chance that one day maybe you become a hero for the rest of the family, and every family really want a hero in their family.
Everyone wants to make their family proud. So you said that these ideas struck you at the age of 7, which is very innovative. So at the age of 7, most children are not thinking about owning their own business. They would be thinking about their toys. So did you think it came from your family? Like from your father or your mother?
My father was a typical a jobber. But the rest of the environment where I grew up in Lahore, most of them were doing their businesses. So our family was settled in Mazang. That is a part where most of people are doing their business.
Right.
And we had rented out a place over there. So fortunately, we were the only one who were doing the job. My father was the only one who was doing the job, and the rest of the whole street was engaged in business. So if you are growing up in a business community, so you will be having a like-minded friends, and you have the like-minded ideas, and you dream like them. So that was the I think a lucky point for myself. So I decided, and that is why even of today, we are 6 brothers and sisters, and all of them directly and indirectly, they're engaged into business.
That is great.
They are engaged. None of them is doing their jobs. they are engaged in business.
So it really comes from the family.
Yeah.
You said this thing about business, and I would like to join it with the education system, like the general education system of Pakistan, which does not allow you to think so freely. So you start by studying, and there is already fed into your brain that you are studying this for the purpose of a job. You have to later find a job. And if a person who is studying a degree that guarantees a job in the end, and that person during that study would mention something like, I would like to own a business later in my life, that person is demotivated to an extra level. So do you think Pakistani education system is the one to blame here to put this into our minds?
Actually, if we go back like 100 year back, when this industrial revolution came,
Yes.
The whole philosophy behind this education at a massive level was to create more productive people for industry.
For industries.
So the philosophy and the foundation behind this whole phenomenon was to create more employees that are well educated, and who can handle the situation and who can follow the SOPs. So it is not only the Pakistan, wherever you go, like even across the border in India, you will find people who are hunting for jobs, and even in the best of the countries, even I visited US and many other European countries, most of the people, they think that ultimately the aim of a good degree is to get the job.
Just get a right job.
But I have a difference over here, like if I say like my student will become an engineer, my student will become a pilot or a doctor, these are jobs. Why not they should become an entrepreneur and they hold a hospital? Why not they become an entrepreneur and have their own industry? We never advertise. We always say, okay, my student will be, if you really want to be an engineer and doctor, you join us.
Yeah.
Right? So the whole philosophy of this education system, and even the propagation of this education system by the institution, is to create more employees, not to create more entrepreneurs. So Pakistan has fallen in the same trap, and then we are falling on the same footstep what is being laid 100 years back when this industrial revolution came into existence.
Right. So with business comes great responsibilities and many of these things. One thing that people face around here when they start their own business would be the fact they fail. Sometimes business comes from they think business comes from a lot of experiences, and you should never start it unless you're experienced, because then you would be facing failures, you would be wasting money. So did you ever in your life face this kind of fear?
Well, maybe like 27 companies I found. There's maybe a very humble companies like printing or of a banners or selling candies or all these stuffs to running my own airline in Dubai. So all of these businesses has the same tendency, has the same risk factor, has the same responsibility. It is you who really have the courage to go and grab them and accept the reality. So even when I was selling candies in the streets of Lahore, I have the same pressure, I have the same time to spend on to secure my business as I was selling aircrafts. So there is no difference between how big the opportunity is or how small the opportunity is. You have 24 hours in a day, and you need to, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, you need to focus on that 24 hours productivity, how you spend these 24 hours on your business to expand it.
Right.
So most of the people who are fearing of failing in the business is because they have never tried it out. So the first lesson is try it out. I tried it out at this age of 7 years, and it was a success. And since then, I never stopped myself. I knew that there are failures, I knew there are pressures, but it is not more pressure. The situation is never more under pressure when I was working for someone, because
Yeah, it's
then
the
I have
same.
to answer each and every second of my life to someone who maybe who don't have that vision that I carries. So my always advice to the youth is try it out. It's your
Try
life.
it out.
Try it out.
That's very innovative. There is one thing that everyone wants to know from a successful man as such you, is to find good people to be a part of your lives. We make friends over the course of our life, and some of them are really good for us and some of them tend to not be that good. But emotions come first. You tend not to leave those people. It feels unfair to leave those people behind. So a successful businessman always, as I have heard, thinks of their own self first and to find people who they're comfortable with, the people who will help them through their lives. So is there ever a time in your life when you found yourself in a situation like this where you had a friend who was quite a not nice influence in yourself? So did you leave that person, or has it never been like that for you?
Well, over the 50 year of age, when you have that much of time spending around different kind of people, so yes, obviously you have experienced all kind of personality around yourself. But for me, selecting a friend is very critical decision. I don't normally make a lot of friends. Yes, I do networking for my business purposes, but to have friend means friends.
Yes.
That's a big choice, because with friend you can share everything, and the friend you can have the same frequency. By friend, I don't mean like having fun and things like that, but by friend I mean a person who is a kind of support in your life, and you become a support for him or her for the rest of their life. So selecting a friend, from my own experience, is a very critical thing. From a very young age, I have learned one thing, that if you have people who don't have wisdom, who are duffers, who don't have vision, they always drag you down. So even like maybe as you find a person who is very naughty, and he is apparently not a very serious guy, but has a vision, has a tendency to achieve something in his life. So I always try to have people around me who can pull me up. I never find myself in a company, and I'd never become comfortable in a company where I can be think as the on top of them, because if you are on top of them, that's mean all of them is going to drag you down. So I always enjoy the company where I feel like I'm learning out of them. So when you start learning out of them, you become at par with them, and that's how you grow. So for every young person, I have this advice that be very careful while selecting your friends, and these friends should be the one who should be giving you a boost in your life, not dragging you down.
That's great. Also, regarding friends, like we're on this topic, so friends have a tendency to pull you down or move with you. You have made successful friends as well in this field. So do you think, like, it's different. It's different from when you are younger in life, but when you're such a successful person yourself, you are a businessman now, and you barely get time for friends. So do you think it's quite a frank question, if I may say, there is a difference between making friends at that age of your life when you were starting your business and this age of your life when you have friends who are just as stable as you are? So is there a difference between your conversations now, or do you still find yourself burdening out your load with those people?
Actually, there is a clear-cut division between a friend and a colleague. So when you have business colleagues, maybe they are on the same page. But when you have a friend, that has the tendency of giving you boost in your life. So for me, maybe a childhood friend who has that same capacity and capability till today will remain my friend. And people who I think they are my time killer, or they are wasting their lives and my life and lives of many others, I tend to refuse to give my time to them, because I think my time is very precious for those who really want that time out of my life. So I really want to invest my time with those people who really want to grow themselves. Yes, I do have a tendency to pull people up. It's not only the me, it's a chain reaction, because I'm pulling up someone and someone pulling up me on a higher ladder. But if someone refuses to say I don't want a growth in my life, I don't want to change my life, so I say okay, then that position is fine with you, you may enjoy yourself, and I move on to another person who need my help, and I always extend my help to all those people. So friends, yes, they should be like-minded. There is, for my philosophy, if they are not like-minded with you, they will always divert you in a direction where you will be wasting your life even, and your time, most precious thing.
Yes, so books, as I have heard, is a man's best friend. Since we're on the topic of friends, I would also like to ask you, in this new generation of media where we can consume TV shows, we've got dramas, movies, we've got books. In this all things, do you find yourself advising one book or one TV show or anything that you watch that you think people related to your field or anyone in general should be watching?
Right, like right now, overall this economy and this country, in a position right now where we need a lot of people with good energy, good ideas, and a positive mental approach.
Right.
So for them, I really advise them to go, even they don't have, if they don't have much time, they should go for short summaries of books that are available online free of cost.
Yes.
They should listen to these summaries so they can boost their motivation, they can have good ideas, they can have diversification in their life of the cultures and ideas and philosophies around the globe, because this is right now we are living in a global village right now. So for me, because I don't have much time, I go for short summaries. There are many apps available, so you can get the crux out of them. And as far as the for the youth, I must say they should watch all those entrepreneurial shows where the different ideas are being pitched. So being an employee is much more difficult right now in this gloomy situation than become an entrepreneur, because when there is a gloomy situation of the economy, there is always opportunities around there to start a new idea with a new energies. So for me, all those shows that tend to give you new ideas, at least people who are studying right now, maybe in a business management or maybe computer sciences, they must watch all these shows so they can get an influence out of them, and they can maybe get an idea out of that situation which is fitted in our country, and they can materialize it.
Right. There is a big question in the entire world which is asked over and over, and I would also like to extend it out to you. What is the difference that you think is between an entrepreneur and a businessman?
That's a big question.
Yes, that's a big
right
question.
Now, there is you can talk to a million people, and they always say a business is a very difficult thing, and most of the business tend to fail actually. Maybe like 92%, 93% business are not success stories. Maybe very few of them in our economies are considered as good startups, or maybe they turn into a brand right now. For me, our business is not sole proprietorship. Unfortunately, in our country, we tend to make the business around ourselves. We think if we are there, this business should flourish, and if we are not there, that should not be even a success story. So between an entrepreneur and a sole proprietorship, there is a huge difference. All those brands are made by entrepreneurs, not by the sole proprietors. So by sole proprietor, I mean a person who just get the inspiration from someone and without even putting a lot of thought on it, they start replicating the same process. Where the entrepreneur is altogether different person, he actually form a beautiful picture. There are a lot of opportunities in the environment, and that opportunities are just like different dots in the society. So he is the one who can relate all these dots and made a beautiful picture out of it. And that picture could be turned into a product or a service. Like there are a lot of people who are selling shoes, but if I say the Stylo or maybe ECS or maybe other companies like Bata and Service, they are the people who actually made a picture out of these opportunities and they presented their brand. So an entrepreneur is a one who is an artist who can trace and look all these opportunities into a beautiful picture and paint it and present it to the customer. And a sole proprietor is someone who think whatever is in his mind is appropriate for the customer. But an entrepreneur always have customer in their mind and they portray the picture according to his or her wish. So if we really want to become a successful person, we need to focus on making process out of an opportunity, not only to replicate someone's process, because if that process fails, your process automatically fails. And if you have a process that is universally acceptable, then it would be fail. Yes, it would be fail, but only when the whole scenario of this global village changes. Only that is the case when the entrepreneur fails. But in the most of the cases, sole proprietor fails because the original idea is not being conceived by that particular person.
Right. So you mentioned art. You mentioned art, like setting up a big picture for an entrepreneur is an art. So do you think art and talent, a person is born with those things, so you cannot quite achieve it. So do you think that an entrepreneur is a born talent or a person is able to learn it throughout their life?
Actually, what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is having a presence of mind. Whatever the data input you are having, like whatever you are going through a street, or maybe you are watching a TV, or maybe you are listening to someone, that's an input data. And if you have a presence of mind and you process that data in your brain and get the picture out of it, that's mean you are a born entrepreneur. But that is not the case always. Through trainings, through proper education, through proper environment, we can create a lot of entrepreneurs. Like if we say Sialkot, so every second household is an entrepreneur. That's an environment. That doesn't mean every person who is born in Sialkot is a born entrepreneur, because that is an environment. So we have a lot of cities which is becoming cluster right now. A cluster of some products like Sialkot, we say, like Karachi is another cluster, Lahore is another cluster, but rest of the people, like if you go to Sahiwal, you won't find any industry. If you go to Mia Channu, you find another small cluster of agriculture equipment production. So it is an environment that conduces you to adopt certain traits. So yes, some people born with advantage, some people
have to create
it. Or maybe if you feel like that this is the opportunity for me, you need to maybe migrate to that particular area. If you go to America, people tends to migrate every year, maybe every second year or third year, because wherever they feel like there is an opportunity, they move over there. In our country, we unfortunately we stood and we stick to the place where we born actually, and we don't go for all these opportunities that is available in this beautiful country.
That's right. So environment, you think, is the
Yeah.
key. This has been great talking to you about business. There's another casual question that I may ask that I found really interesting, is the fact that you learned Russian over the course of time where you were in Russia for some reason. I am very interested in languages myself, so I found myself compelled to ask that Russian, was this a language you learned out of necessity, or is there another language in this world that you would feel you need to learn, or you found yourself in a situation?
Actually, that was the basic requirement of my business, as I was running a Russian cargo airline. So we tend to have a lot of clients coming from the Russia. I had a translator, and sometimes I feel very embarrassed because I could not understand what they're saying and what are their demand right now. So I started learning that language, because that is the essential thing to run that particular show as a head of the airline. So that's actually a necessity to learn that particular language. My personal tendency is not towards learning a lot of languages. As I have to admit that being a pioneer of call center industry in Pakistan, that is based on American call center in Pakistan basically, I was not very fluent in English. There was one point where I feel like this is my own lacking, or maybe a tendency not to move towards another language, because I'm quite comfortable with my own language, with Punjabi and Urdu. I tend not to learn all these languages, but for young people, maybe learning a language is a very, I think, a fantastic thing, because you not only learn that particular syntax, but you also learn the culture. You also learn everything that is just there, and you could just see it, and suddenly there is a curtain raiser and you find a new whole world.
That is true.
Across the border even. Like
Exactly.
if I say, like right now the Chinese language is one of the most biggest opportunity for our young people.
Yes.
Whoever will learn this language, he will be able to access at least 1.5 billion people in upcoming 5 or 10 years.
Yes. So it was great talking to you. Obviously, I found all these questions and all these answers really helpful to me as well. As it is said that you should once or twice in your life, if you get a chance, you should sit down with a person, a successful person, and then you will be able to make better life decisions. And this should happen to people in a very young age, I think. So it's great talking to you, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks a lot.